My name is Erica Diaz.
My name is Francisco Mendez.
My name is Daniel Andrade.
My name is Alejandro Esquivel.
My name is Maclovio Vega.
I would say my mom mostly. My mom had to, um, in order to provide for education and to make sure that we had the opportunities that we needed. I would say my mom probably gave up the most. She had to work long hours so that she could justify us going to school and so that we had the opportunities that we needed. Um, I probably just long hours and not being able to have as much fun as I wanted to. But I don't have any major sacrifices that I can think of. It's something that I just always wanted to do.
Yeah, so I remember the day when she left. We had to stay at home. We couldn't go to her to be with her for the last time. So it was like very heartbreaking seeing her go. And she had a very tough journey trying to make it to the United States. It took her a while to make it, but she finally made it, thank God. And yeah, it was a rough time.
Well, I when I so what if- you know, well, as far as like sacrifices that my parents made, like um, I think my dad made the most sacrifice. As far as coming here to the U.S. He finished the high school, his high school, or finished high school, and coming here, it was he didn't think of anything beyond high school. And then when he saw my mom uh, continue her education, him supporting her and continuing her education, um, I think he knew that he had to make the sacrifice. It wasn't going to be about him. She had the sort of she had the desire and the will to actually pursue her higher education, knowing that if she did that, she would be able to provide more for the family. So I think he made the most for me. I would say, like, in terms of making the sacrifice. I think my dad made the most sacrifice in making sure that we had what we needed. But my mom, she contributed, I would say, just as much to the family like my dad financially. She, like I said, she maintained a full time job at over here at We Energies. At the time, I think it was Wisconsin Electric, but she worked a full time job. She then did also have her own like small business selling jewelry, selling whatever. I mean, she was sort of like, I guess, entrepreneur, right? So she did what she could to help meet the sort of financial goals of the family, because one of their goals was to build a home, and make a living, or make a home and make a life for us in somewhere other than where we were, and whether it was New Berlin, which is where we ended up, but just build a home, and which is part of their own American dream, for us, for the family. So I think, yeah, I think it was just like one after another thing, in terms of sacrificing, and being able to like have that energy, have that will.
So the sacrifices that my family had to make really was, my dad didn't take many vacations. As a laborer, as he was, he did not earn a very good living. So what he sacrificed is he wanted all of us to have a basis for education, and so he provided us the means to go to Catholic grade school and high schools. I think for the amount of sacrifice he had to do to pay for those tuitions, um, I can't fathom that, because the amount of money that he told me that he made a year, I struggle with. How did he provide for his family, pay for a mortgage, have a car? So he just didn't have a lot of disposable income. Hence, my parents didn't do a lot, so they were very homebodied individuals.
I remember distinctly. I went to private high school, which was kind of a target school for college, whereas not a lot of high schools have that. Um, we actually had every year we'd have numerous colleges and top ranked colleges come in and actually talk to us about what they look for in candidates. Um, in order to get to that high school, my family definitely had to make some sacrifices financially and time wise. I remember I think my dad um, had to pick up a side job in order to help pay and support my future. And my mom also would have to not go on that vacation or not go to there or not spend it on this in order to help pay for my education. Um, Whereas a lot of people go to a public high school and don't have to really think about that. My family definitely did, and not only my parents, but my mom's parents, my grandpa and my grandma. Um, they really had to sacrifice a lot financially. My mother went to a private high school as well, and they paid for her all the way through. Um, so it's just amazing that they were able to send her through. I know it was very I'm sure a stressful time as well as an exciting time as well because they knew that they were creating that much more for my mom's future.
Yeah, and not just my sister. So sacrifices that my family made, so that myself and my three siblings, my two brothers and my sister, could complete our higher education. I wouldn't say I sacrificed a lot. My mom definitely did. Right? She had to sacrifice. I mean, when she came up here in the early '70s, she was early teens. She was a young girl, so she didn't speak English. She didn't have any money, and her family was all in Mexico still, most of it. So she sacrificed the safety and comfort of her family, the comfort of her language in Mexico. I mean, her safety, right? A young girl traveling all the way from Michoacan, where she was from, which is more in the central part of Mexico, all the way up with a coyote to get over the border, to make it up to Wisconsin. I mean, that's dangerous for a young lady. That's dangerous for anybody, let alone a young lady. So she sacrificed a lot to make sure that we could have a better life up here. And again, she had no idea what that meant, but she knew that she had to have a better life. So yeah. So what did I sacrifice? I can't say I sacrificed anything when I look at what she sacrificed.
I don't have my proudest academic moment, I would say, is getting my bachelor's degree. And there's still a lot more to come. I still have a lot of things that I want to do and I want to learn. And there's so many that I can't settle on something that I'm really proud of because I feel like I still have a lot to do from an academics perspective.
I would say that every time that I look back at what I have done, I'm sometimes thankful that I have been able to do what I have done because I've been working hard to make sure that I'm doing the right things. So I would say that every time that I take a moment to look back and look at what I have done and see that I'm moving in the right direction, I think that's one of the proudest moments, seeing myself moving and keeping the momentum in the right direction.
So, what sticks out as my proudest moment academically? I think, like thinking back, I would say one of the things that when I have conversations about like school and what I've achieved, for sure academics, getting the bachelor's, going to UWM, UW Milwaukee, and completing my bachelor's in management information systems. Great achievement, great. I think that's, I'm proud of that. My parents are proud of that. That I was able to do that. That's part of, I think, their dream and wish for us. But I think if I would reflect on sort of what I was most proud of during those years, it was probably more related to giving back to the community. Being able to balance things, being able to go to school, learn, you know, um, pick up knowledge that I will later need to get those opportunities. But more so, probably being able to continue to give back, what I learned, and then give back to the community, and be able to share what I have.
So I would say it's twofold, to be honest with you. My proudest academic moment was graduating high school. And I think that people will look at that and say, how could that be your most proud moment? Um, but when you're walking across the stage and your father to even reach that pinnacle, it really, and I saw him looking out crying, that really kind of cut me to the core. And it really resonated in my mind. The second most, two other moments of my educational experience that I have been most proud of is getting accepted into college because um, the area that I came from in Milwaukee, not a lot of individuals were going to college. And so getting accepted into Whitewater and then hence graduating from Whitewater, I remember walking across the stage and my father just doing a grito and just so proud that I could hear it. And I immediately, when I walked across the stage, I started to cry.
My proudest academic moment, I would say, uh, were would be placing in a national economic challenge known as Fed Challenge, taking third place at the national level up against top name schools such as Princeton, Harvard, uh, Virginia Commonwealth, and Pace University out in New York. Um, the blood, sweat, and tears in order to get into that even team, uh, to be considered for that team, was a lot of time, determination, and understanding. I remember going to the first meeting of how all this were to happen, um, and I didn't understand a single word of what was being said. Terms such as quantitative easing, credit crunch, interest rate risk. I really did not understand anything. Um, and then being able to be elected to the team, and then being the first Wisconsin school to actually win our Federal Reserve Bank District, District 7 in Chicago, up against top tier schools, University of Chicago, the uh, Booth School of Business, Northwestern, uh, University of Michigan, University of Madison, Marquette University. That was a huge accomplishment in and of itself in order to be that first Wisconsin school and then go to nationals. Um, so, and a little bit about that competition. It's a economic challenge. So you're acting as an advisory board for a company reacting to the Federal Reserve. So we were acting as a Goldman Sachs advisory board council, reacting to Federal Reserve's outlook.
So it's not so much my proudest academic moment as it is a family proud academic moment. So my proudest academic moment in our family, my brother Jaime Vega, he's a year younger than me. When we were in Racine, still when my parents were still married, he was made to repeat kindergarten. He had to repeat kindergarten. I passed kindergarten on the first time. He had to repeat it, and in looking back, we figured out it was because the language. We were speaking Spanish. English was not our first language, but we were learning it on the go from our neighbors, from being at elementary school, and we struggled, right? I mean, we had some issues there with Spanish and English, and so his teacher that he had for kindergarten held him back, made him repeat kindergarten. So now, even though he's a year younger than me, he's 2 grades younger than me. Well, when he graduated high school, he graduated valedictorian of his class out of over 300 students. So to me, that's a very proud moment, right? You got this kid whose parents are immigrants from Mexico, and gets held back on kindergarten, and now he's graduating valedictorian. Oh, and now he's a doctor in the Navy. So yeah, he went on to medical school, became a doctor, is in the Navy, and I would say he's doing all right, even though he was held back in kindergarten.
It's I define success in the work environment by making sure I feel that if I'm working towards a specific goal and it's the goal that the organization has set, and I know what that goal is, I can work towards it, and I can make any decision I make because I know what the end goal is, and I know that the things that I'm doing are going to contribute to that goal, and therefore it's a successful day if I can make something better, or if I can contribute in any way to get there faster and it still deliver the what was expected and maybe even better. That would be a successful day.
The way I define success is when you are always innovating, and always like bringing something new to the table. Success is not something that is only about getting something done and just leaving them. It is about always keep things like moving in the right direction, right? So it's a for me it is a concept of constantly being moving like forward, like bringing new ideas and innovation. And not only that, but also doing the right things.
Yeah, that's a good question. So how does my parents' upbringing help me to determine my success or just success in general? Yeah. Um, yeah, I guess I would say that both my parents, I feel like, they both taught me different things, in terms of how I would define success. My dad's, for many years told me success is about hard work, and that's how he showed that, working 16-hour days. He says, that he wasn't wishing for me to work 16-hour days for 6 or 7 days a week, but he said that there's a sense of being able to say that, hey, I have a job, I'm working hard, and he learned a ton even where he was working here in Milwaukee, at this recycling firm, about a lot of things, a lot of things that we talk about here in terms of developing leaders and directing others and managing others. He learned all that, in his role over at the recycling firm. But my mother takes her definition would be a little bit different. Her definition would be about how do you when you learn something, how are you using that knowledge to better not only yourself but to better people around you, and that's how she would define success.
So all my brothers and my cousins who are like brothers, and a friend who works here, um, what they've contributed to my success is, I would say, priceless. I would say I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for those individuals. So when you talk about helping one another become successful, although we talk that, the essence is really lifting up somebody as you're climbing. And when I look at my brothers, the sacrifices that they made in order for me to be successful, has been incredible. Growing up, I think that my brothers had to sacrifice financially, so they had to contribute for me to go to college. And I think, my cousins also contributed to me to buy my books while I was going to college. And these are all individuals who are steel workers. And so if you ever saw the movie Rudy, you look at Rudy when he worked in that factory and his oldest son finally got admitted to Notre Dame College, what that was like, how they were so proud. I would say that's how my family was.
My family and my upbringing determined my success uh, in a great way. They were always telling me that if I wanted to be something, um, I just needed that hard work to go along with it. Um, they instilled upon me at a very young age that if I want to do anything right, I got to do it with 100% effort. Um, there's very few things that you can control in your life, but you can always control your attitude and your effort. So that was something that they always told me, was that there's going to be ways that you see are unfair. There's going to be things that you see that are um, disproportionate. There's going to be things that you see that are not in your favor for a variety of reasons. But if you always come with your full effort and your best attitude, then that's all you can do, and that's all you can ask for.
So, how did my upbringing contribute to how I view success? Right? That's the question. Well, that one's an easy one. Watching my mom work multiple jobs, difficult jobs, and seeing her come home, and us growing up, we were on. I was always on the free lunch program. I was always, all of us, all for as long as I could remember. We were at that level of income, poverty level, basically. We shopped at Goodwill. That going to Kmart was a great day, like that was an odd day, right? So but I didn't know any different. I didn't know any better, and it's what my mom could do just, to get by. And what was more important to her was that we were fed, that we had a roof over our heads instead of what we dressed in. And so as I got older, and after my mom and dad divorced, since I was the oldest, I was put in charge of the finances of the house. So my mom did the work. I would, pay the bills using, the checkbook that she had from the local bank, whatever. And in doing that, I learned a lot. I learned about the importance of money in this country, the importance of credit, your credit score. My mom would get calls from collection agencies. She'd hand the phone to me and let me answer those because she didn't speak English as well. So I got those calls, right? So that upbringing, growing up, poor, growing up, always, living paycheck to paycheck, maybe not even sometimes, made me appreciate, financial stability and having that stability just so you don't have to worry about it. And that's how I ended up choosing finance as a major when I ended up going to Marquette University. And it's kind of what drove me into the profession I'm in now, which is investments and money management.